Well, Tucker's gone, and I've been a little bit of away from Big Brother this weekend as I've been spending time with family and friends on Labor Day weekend, so doesn't mean we're not going to do the power rankings here, but man, has the house kind of flipped, and let's just get into it here on the Big Brother power rankings. Week 7? That's right, Tucker's gone. Everything's kind of shifted in the house, and the power dynamic has flipped. Quinn won HOH, Chelsea and crew kind of took over, and Leah won the POV and did some stuff. So let's just get into these power rankings with my number 10, newly on the block, having really bad gameplay, talking up his game to way too many people, and that's Joseph. I love Joseph on feeds. Joseph is funny, Joseph is a good time, but Joseph didn't know how to shut his mouth this week. And when Leah used the POV to save on Angela, somebody she believes would vote for her in the final two, Joseph got put up on Quinn's HOH. And I think a lot of people, given that T-Core's allies are up there might not be much fighting to keep Joseph, I think Joseph needs to win this A arena or else he's going to be pre-jury. He spent this whole week blabbing to people. He was really just, smarmy per se with what he thought was going to happen. And it cost him here. And I don't know what went through his head being as cocky as he was with how he was saying things, but not a good spot for Joseph right now. And number 9 is going to be the other person I think who was likely to go out and hasn't played a great game this week, and that's Chemo. Once Tucker went out, he kind of just become very reserved and quiet. And the power of Chemo's position and the downside of Chemo's position is the same thing, which is when he's able to have T-Core in power and he can use that, as a player, his passive play can be very good, but when he's at the bottom and he only still talks to T-Core, Rubina, and probably Angela is his third most. He isn't building anything in the house, and if Joseph wins, or if people start thinking more, Chemo might be the person that needs to win AI Arena or go home. His game has been pretty uninspired, and unless something flips power-wise and the power structure goes back into T-Core's favor, Chemo's going to be in pretty big trouble these next few weeks, in my opinion. Number 8 is Angela. Even though she's safe this week, she's made jury. Leah used the POV on her. Her gameplay still suffered from last week. She didn't do a great job rallying the votes. She was almost flipped on. And almost an easy target by Quinn this week. I think the fact that Leah now saved her with the POV paints a target on her back even more, seeing that she has somebody who's supporting her in the house and maybe wanting to take her a little bit further. I think Angela is somebody who could last further in the game, but I also think this house may be happy to, take her out quickly once jury starts. She didn't do a great job building back relationships. Maybe with the POV used on her and a little bit less stress, she'll do that here. But when she got nominated and some of the things she was doing, she was still upsetting people and putting people off the wrong way. And that's why I have her at number 8, even though she's off the block. Rubina, I think, is starting to finally rebound from her Tucker downside. She's my number 7. And I think if she can get this Women's Alliance working enough that they would vote for her this week, and she can keep building some more personal connections and start branching outside of just T-Core and Tucker, but now that Tucker's not in the house, I think she has a chance to really socially find her spot in the game. I do think she's a little bit more strategic than she lets off, and again, I think she's probably the safest of the 3 nominees this week, which beginning of this week didn't seem like that was going to be the case. It feels like T-Core has moved her up in her pecking order in terms of close allies, moving above even Chemo. And if she gets the Women's Alliance thing moving, you're looking at a Chelsea, Mackenzie, Angela, Leah, T-Core, and Rubina. You kind of have Angela and Leah on one side, you have Chelsea and MJ on the other side, and T-Core and Leah can T-Core and Rubina can kind of pick where they go. Still not in a great spot for the game overall, but not a bad week for Rubina here. Number 6 is Joseph. Well, not Joseph, it's Quinn for me. Quinn got HOH. He targeted Angela. He wanted Rubina as his target. And now one of his closer allies going into the week, Joseph, is going home, potentially pre-Jerry. And Chemo is on the block too, who could be going home. And he's pissed off T-Core, Chemo, Rubina, even Angela a bit, maybe even Joseph a bit. All he did was make enemies. He tried making a 7-person alliance with everybody who's not on the block, which was probably the stupidest gameplay in the world. And even though it's very obvious Leah is just going to stab him in the back, is going to do whatever Leah wants, is not going to be considerate of Quinn, Quinn still has, his dick is making him play the way he does. And he just had a pretty bad HOH week again, for my personal standards. And just didn't go well at all. He's playing for Leah still, and he's super duper crushed and in love with her, and it's kind of embarrassing. And the Copypasta, man, the Copypasta. Number 5, falling probably the lowest she's been in a while, is T-Core. T-Core did not respond well to Tucker leaving in some ways. Some ways she did. Some ways she was like, he had to go. I understand why they did it. But then Quinn put up Rubina and Chemo on the block, and I think the house kind of sees how upset that made T-Core. She's already kind of turned against Quinn in her mind. She's shown a very pettiness and an inability to move around in the house and set herself up for a better endgame, since people do want to work with her endgame. But she just seems dead set on saving her friends. And maybe that'll work this week, but I think as long as all 3 of them in the house, it'll just remind people how big of a threat T-Core is. And eventually, I think she's going to get picked off here pretty soon. I think other people are developing the bonds that she wishes she had with people, because she's still hanging around with Rubina and Chemo. Way too much. Not enough hanging out with Chelsea. Not enough hanging out with Mackenzie. Not enough hanging out with Leah. I just think that other people are making bigger bonds that could push this endgame forward. And T-Core is slowly finding herself being pushed out of everything, in my opinion. Number 4, I can't believe she's this high, but, a lot of people are talking about how they would love voting for her and that, she makes Final 2. We've seen her be good at some of these competitions. Mackenzie. Tucker's out. Cam and Quinn are kind of the 2 physical guys left. Chelsea and Cam are bringing her along a lot. Quinn wants to bring her along. And even T-Core and Rubina kind of want to bring MJ along. She's in this really good position. And even though her game has been awful, truly awful, her reads have been awful, she's managed to vote on the right side of a flip and then end up on the wrong side with the ally-wise of the flip. She's come up with the most ridiculous, stupid theories. She would be out in Big Brother if it wasn't for AI Arena. But she's still here, and realistically, if she makes Final 2 with her athletic ability towards the end game and her likability, I could see a Chelsea voting for her. I could see T-Core and Rubina voting for her. I could see a Cam voting for her in the jury. She seems to have people who are likable, and as long as she's not besides Chelsea, she could become a pretty big jury threat in the end. So Mackenzie has moved up a lot. Now that people want to work with her, she stayed off the block. She could be in a good endgame position as these comps move forward. Number 3 for me is Cam, because again, he stayed off the block. He's not a target. I think he understands this game a lot more than we want to let on. He's definitely quiet and more reserved, but when he talks about ideas, when he talks about, strategies and stuff like that, he's on point. When he talks about how things were like in previous seasons, and even, he's somebody who actually could tell, maybe watched feeds, at least part of feeds last year, or went back and saw some of the feeds last year. He understands kind of decent gameplay, and he understands that sticking his neck out right now isn't the right move for him as a big athletic man. He doesn't have the social game, I think, as some others around him, and that could be his downfall if he makes Final 2. But if he starts winning some comps and making some social moves, we've heard people in the South say they love Jag. They loved kind of, some of the people who've won comps in the past. So that very well may win out a jury vote if Cam starts racking up comp wins and he ends in the Final 2 with maybe a MJ. Or even an Angela, per se, if Angela gets there. So we'll see where Cam goes. He's my number 3 right now. Haven't seen too much gameplay, but when he gives it, I think it's really good gameplay. Number 2, I don't know how long she'll stay here because I think she showed some cards, but we got to give some praises to Leah. Leah has managed to get both Joseph and Quinn to be like, you ruined my HOH. You vetoed Angela, and now I'm on the block kind of as a target, but that's okay, Leah. We're going to work for you. She has Angela with her now in the jury where she might vote for her, and Angela is more than happy to be 2 votes with Leah. I think Leah is more than happy whoever gets voted out this week. I think people are going to be willing to work with her, whether it be Takor's group, whether it be like Quinn and Joseph, whether it be like even Chelsea and Cam. Chelsea kind of want Joseph out and Joseph to go up instead of Angela. She kind of got that way. Same thing with MJ. So Leah, I think, has a lot of options, and a lot of people are kind of falling back. And again, if Joseph stays and Joseph and Quinn continue to be like, yes, pretty girl, keep effing over our game, and we'll just blink here happily, Leia could find her way in a final 2 with like a Quinn or a Joseph, and she can win. Maybe she gets to the final 2 with Cam and she beats Cam. The big issue in the next couple of weeks is going to make sure she doesn't get targeted much. Her and Angela being in the house together may make them a target, and they might target Leah over Angela, but only time will tell here soon. But that means my number 1 person, and she's played a pretty decent week here, getting the vote flipped on Tucker, and staying pretty solid in the house, is Chelsea. I loved how she picked up MJ as an ally more than Quinn this week. My big issue with Chelsea is she hasn't really solidified anything yet. And I still think there's the off chance if the wrong person wins HOH, Chelsea could easily become a target. And I think she's very easy to pull down the layers, and people are like, oh, Chelsea is a gamer. Chelsea is kind of trying to run things. Chelsea is this. And she hasn't shored up people for making sure they don't pull down these blinds. I'm talking about the Quinns and the Josephs. I'm talking about the Leah as well in the Angelas. Chelsea has good social work with, I think, T-Core. Did some decent social work with MJ this week. Obviously, she has Cam. But I just think she's a couple, wrong HOH person in, and a couple people be like, yeah, Chelsea tried setting things up. Chelsea kind of drove the Tucker vote. Chelsea this, Chelsea that. And people are going to be like, oh, Chelsea's a big threat. And she doesn't have the comp ability to protect herself, I feel. So she's a 1, but I don't think she's as strong as a 1 as some people are suggesting. She's still very, very flawed and very, very poor as a gameplay player. But this house is still a house full of just bad gameplay and, figuring out who's going to bury themselves this week. And this week it happened to be Joseph. So that's why Joseph is ranked at the bottom for me and very likely maybe going home. But that's my power rankings for this week. It's a little bit shorter because I haven't been able to watch live feeds all weekend. Maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing, but, visiting family, didn't want to subject them that much to live feeds, and I wanted to enjoy my time with them on the holiday weekend. But tell me your power rankings down below, and I'll be live for a watch-along sometime this week, maybe on Saturday. I'm going to be watching Beetlejuice Wednesday night, so check that out. Also, Wednesday morning, you're going to get the review and theory time of Only Murders in the Building, and you can check out the first half recap here on the channel for Big Brother 26, kind of just under 15-minute style of the first half of the game. But that's going to be it for my power rankings. Thank you all for watching. 46 subscribers away from 500. I just want to thank everybody for that, and I will see you sometime this week or next week for next week's power rankings.